On a night when the world seemed cloaked in velvet darkness, only the glow of Dragonstone's distant torches broke the horizon. The sea whispered tales of old as it lashed against the cliffs, and high above, the stars shone like embers scattered across the sky. In a secluded chamber, deep within the castle's labyrinthine hall, Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen sat by the warm glow of a dying hearth. Rhaenyra was unlike the others of her blood. While her kin wore their heritage-like armor and reveled in the power of their dragons, she found solace in the stories spun from shadows and flame. Tonight, an ancient tome rested in her lap, bound in deep crimson leather and embossed with a sigil not seen in centuries. A dragon with eyes of rubies. Her fingers traced the symbol as she whispered the book's title, The Ballad of Emberwing. It was said to be the oldest of the Targaryen folktales, older even than the conquest of Aegon himself. It told of a dragon so wise and powerful that its very breath could weave songs into the fabric of the world. As she turned the brittle pages, her eyes scanned words that seemed to shimmer with their own light. In the time before thrones and crowns, before fire and blood, there was Emberwing, the guardian of secrets and shadows, keeper of the flame that spoke. A chill ran down her spine, for Rhaenyra had always felt the pull of something unseen, as though an echo called to her through the halls of Dragonstone. The wind outside shifted, rattling the iron latch on her window. A faint hum reached her ears, almost like a note played on an invisible harp. She leaned closer to the window, peering out into the ink-dark sky. The silhouette of a winged creature, immense and silent, moved across the face of the moon. It was no ordinary dragon. Its scales gleamed as if dusted with stardust. Rhaenyra's heart quickened. Could it be Emberwing, or was she seeing only the ghosts of her imagination? Determined, she wrapped herself in a cloak as dark as a raven's feather and slipped into the shadowed corridors of the castle. The air was thick with the scent of salt and smoke, mingling with the distant crackle of torches. The path to the ancient keep was narrow, lined with carvings of dragons locked in eternal flight. She knew the stories whispered about this part of Dragonstone, that it was built not just for defense, but as a sanctum where dragon lords would gather to share secrets that only the flame understood. As she reached the archway that led to the old observatory, a deep thrumming sound resonated beneath her feet. It was like the beating of a colossal heart. The room beyond was lit by a dim, eerie light emanating from a basin of molten obsidian in the center. Surrounding it were carvings of dragons in various poses, some roaring, others watching with eyes that seemed almost sentient. Suddenly, the air around her grew warmer. A presence pressed against her mind, ancient and unfathomable. She gasped as the flames in the basin flared, forming the ethereal outline of a dragon's head. Its eyes, bright and knowing, locked onto her. "Rhaenyra!" A voice, low and resonant, echoed in her mind. "You seek the song that binds worlds, the song that holds both flame and shadow." Tears pricked her eyes at the majesty of the voice. "Emberwing?" she whispered. The dragon's form nodded, shimmering as if made of liquid fire. "The old songs have been forgotten, hidden within the bloodlines that carry the weight of flame. But tonight, the winds shift, and with them comes the song that once breathed life into dragons and harmony into the realms." Rhaenyra stood, enraptured, as the flames began to pulse in rhythm with the hum that had first led her here. The carvings seemed to come alive, their stony wings moving as if preparing for flight. Emberwing's song wove through the room, low and haunting. filling every crevice with a melody that was both fierce and tender. In that moment, Rhaenyra felt a bond snap into place, an understanding that stretched beyond language. She was not just a Targaryen princess, but a vessel for the echoes of an ancient symphony that had once guided dragons across oceans and through storms. Emberwing's eyes softened, and its voice filled the room again. The song is yours now. Guard it well, for it is the last flame of peace in a world that will soon hunger for fire. A gust of wind burst through the observatory, extinguishing the ethereal form of Emberwing and leaving Rhaenyra breathless and alone. Yet, as she stood in the silence, the song continued to hum within her chest, a living part of her. She knew then that she could not speak of this night, for the song was not just a secret, it was a promise, one that had been entrusted to her by the spirit of the flame. It would guide her through the trials yet to come, through betrayals, and through the shivering cold of loss that all Targaryens seemed fated to endure. The first light of dawn crept through the high windows, painting the carvings in hues of gold. Rhaenyra closed her eyes and let the warmth settle over her. She was no longer just a child of fire, but the keeper of Emberwing's final song, a song that would wait, unforgotten, until the world was ready to hear it again. When she returned to her chambers, the castle seemed unchanged, unaware of the events that had just transpired. But deep within, past the layers of stone and sea, a presence stirred, content in the knowledge that its legacy had found a new home. As Rhaenyra lay in her bed, the notes of the song echoed faintly, promising dreams filled with dragons of starlight and the soft lull of a melody that was hers alone to carry. The flames in the hearth flickered gently, and somewhere in the distance, the sea's roar softened to a whisper, as if paying tribute to the keeper of the forgotten song. The days passed, each moment carrying the hue of the ancient melody, urging Rhaenyra to listen more closely, to understand its true meaning. The song was not merely a lullaby of fire and blood, but a testament to the enduring legacy of the Targaryens, a reminder of their strength and the balance they once held between light and shadow. As her power grew, so did the weight of the song within her. She felt the rhythm of it pulse through her veins, a steady beat that was both a comfort and a challenge. The song was a bond, an unspoken promise that bound Rhaenyra to the past and to a future yet unseen. It was a legacy passed from one generation to the next, a thread that wove through the Targaryen bloodline, waiting for the one who could hear it. Rhaenyra had always known that her family's legacy was one of fire and dragons, of power and war, but she had never expected that her part in that legacy would be so different. She was not a conqueror. She was a keeper of ancient knowledge, a guardian of a forgotten song, and the flame that had once been a symbol of destruction had become something else entirely, a symbol of hope, of peace in a world on the brink of chaos. One evening, as the moon hung low in the sky, Rhaenyra stood on the balcony of Dragonstone, gazing out over the sea. The song was strong within her now, a force she could not deny. The winds whispered, carrying the ancient melody with them, and she felt the presence of Emberwing, as though the dragon was still watching over her, guiding her. And though the flames of war would rise again, and the blood of her family would be spilled on the battlefield, Rhaenyra knew that she carried the last hope of peace. The song of Emberwing would endure, echoing through time, waiting for the day when it would once again bring balance to the world. Rhaenyra sat by the fire that evening, watching its warm glow dance and flicker in the hearth. The song continued to hum within her, a presence she could no longer escape. She felt the stirrings of something greater than herself, a purpose that lay beyond the castle walls and the legacy of her bloodline. Rhaenyra sat by the fire that evening, watching its warm glow dance and flicker in the hearth. The song continued to hum within her, a presence she could no longer escape. She felt the stirrings of something greater than herself, a purpose that lay beyond the castle walls and the legacy of her bloodline. There were whispers in the halls of Dragonstone, rumors of dragons stirring, of a power waking that could not be ignored. Rhaenyra was the only one who could hear the full truth. The song she carried was the key, a melody that would either bring salvation or destruction. The fate of the Targaryens was bound to it, as was the fate of the realm. As the years passed, Rhaenyra remained vigilant, listening to the song, waiting for the moment when it would lead her to the answers she sought. She had learned much in her quiet solitude, but there was still much she did not understand. The flames of her ancestors flickered in her heart, and she knew that she was not alone. Emberwing's spirit still lingered, guiding her through the darkest nights. The storm that had threatened to